I am super excited today to introduce you to a man who served some time in prison. In fact, I'm going to be getting to know him just as you're getting to know him. He goes by the name OG Silverback, and you can see that he's just a super inspiring guy. You will find that there's a lot of lessons you can learn from him. I have watched some of his previous interviews before that he did on the Fresh Herc program called the Fresh Out program by Big Herc. And I got so inspired by his power and his sense of strength and accomplishment of what somebody can do. I was really grateful when we connected and he agreed to share his story with people in prisons and jails across America. That's what Prison Professors is all about, showing you the best possible outcome. So tell me something. Do I call you? What do I call you? I only know you as OG Silverback.
Okay, so the reason I have that moniker, OG Silverback, Michael, when I first got out of prison, I didn't know about YouTube. I didn't have connections, whatever. So I went straight into reinventing myself and becoming an IT professional because I was on high risk parole, right? So I had to change my identity. So I wanted to talk to people about my story. So I had to come up with like an identity where I can talk about my story but not reveal my real name because I was in IT. I was employed. I didn't want people to know I was on parole. I just got out of prison, so I reinvented myself.
That is a
but
great
my
story.
real name is Rico Gomez. That's my real name, so you can call me Rico.
Rico, well, I appreciate that because that's the first time I've heard your name,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad to hear that background story. I'd love it if during this conversation, we'd love to hear a little bit about what your background, what brought you into the prison system, how much time did you serve, how long have you been home? Because just what you just said, there are amazing takeaways that you reinvented yourself, and you're now an IT professional, which is just the type of career that a lot of people would like to have, but they don't know how to get into. So why don't you tell us what brought you into the system in the first place?
Okay, so Michael, originally, man, I was a square dude, man. I was just like a regular guy going to school. I joined the military, wanted to play all the special forces, black ops, just like that kind of military type of dude, right?
Alpha
and
male.
So, yeah, exactly, right? So what happened was, it's one thing to play it when you're on base and you're training and everything. It's a whole other thing once you're deployed. I had a couple deployments under my belt, Michael. I don't really want to go into that because I'm under treatment for that. But I had some experiences that I decided I didn't want to be in the military anymore. So I had about 3 months left to go. I was here at Fort Ord, California, which is in Monterey. And my commander tells me, "Hey, we're deploying you back over to Kuwait." And I was like, "Hey, I got 3 months left, man." He said, "You're still a soldier." And I'll be honest with you, Mike, I was kind of scared because I was already starting to sell real estate. I was a bouncer, I was a bodyguard. I had already set up my life after the military, right?
How old were you?
I knew, what's that?
How old were you?
I was 28 years old.
And so you've been in the military for what, 10 years?
Yeah, 11. I went in the military when I was 17.
Went in when you were 17. You're at the end of your journey, 28, ready to start your life, and you get told that you got to go back to the Middle East.
Yeah, and here's the whole problem, Michael, and I just want to be honest with you here. You see these movies about war and everything, and it's all heroic and all that, but when you see some guys that are better trained than you on your left and your right, and they're taken out and you're fortunate enough to come back, you don't want to keep playing this Russian roulette, dude. It's not no macho thing where you feel like you're invincible. I saw my mortality. It's like I'm done, but my commander said I had to go back in. So to be honest with you, my platoon, we just started amping up. We were drinking a lot, smoking marijuana. And this guy goes, "Hey, man, let's try some crack." And I was like, "No, man, crack." He said, "No, crack for people that aren't in shape like us is bad. It busts their heart. But for us, it's going to amp us up. So when we get off the plane, we'll just start mowing down people." So I hit a crack pipe, Michael. I didn't know I had addictive personality because my whole time in the military, I never used drugs. I was just a straight square. So when I hit the crack pipe, Michael, I felt this euphoria I never felt before. And you know how it is when you come down, we wanted to get more crack. Unfortunately, we're on what it's called red alert right before you deploy. We're going to deploy the next week. So we went off base to get some more crack. Back then, the area where I was at, Seaside, California, was notorious for the drug dealers and the gangsters. They would kill military guys because we got paid once a month back then, Michael. So they knew when payday was because we wanted to go meet the girls and stuff. So they go, oh, bring the guys back to the projects. They'd be hiding in the bushes and break yourself. You know, you got to do from New York like me or Chicago or Detroit. I mean, you were fighters, right? They were killing soldiers, so it was off limits. So we snuck off base, you know, 4 of us went to get some crack in Seaside, you know, had our military haircuts. And we went to buy the crack, and the dude, you know, we wanted to get an ounce to bring back on base, but it was short. We was like, hey, man, it's kind of light. And the dude was like, hey, man, you better take that crack. You better take it. And unfortunately, I was armed and I was high, and so I shot the dude, and we took the crack because we already had it, and we got back on base. The MPs were like, hey, what are you doing off base? And we're like, oh, we had to get some food, and they searched the car, found the crack in the gun, put us in the brig, and then they discharged me from the military.
Oh, wow. Well, before I say anything else, I want to say in the beginning, I want to thank you for the commitment that you made to the United States and the service. That's, you know, that's really a big commitment, and we've got a lot of respect for the veterans like yourself. I'm sorry to hear that it had that turn of events, but I think that's what happens to a lot of us. We start our life on a certain way, invest a lot of time and energy to make something right, but one bad decision can bring us into challenges. What happened to you after they put you in the brig? Did you get charged as a civilian then, or as a military man?
Yeah, so what happens, Michael, and it was just fortunate for me. I was a model soldier, Michael. Like every time there was some military training, combat leadership course, primary leadership development, weapons, I was done like an alpha soldier. And my first sergeant was like, man, I don't know what happened to you, man, but you're in a bad situation. Say, I'll tell you what, man, we can either send you to Fort Leavenworth, which is bad news, or we could just give you a dishonorable discharge and put you out of the military. So I chose a disarm. I didn't want to go to Fort Leavenworth. I just chose a dishonorable discharge. Got out. They gave me my it's called gate money, Michael. So me and my 4 homies, we had our gate money, and we went and bought some crack, and we were just smoking crack, man. We were just like crack monsters, just smoking crack. We ran out of crack.
Did you get charged with the shooting? With shooting?
Well, no, that's not what happened. The part of Seaside where it happened at, it was like in the alleyway. It was like in a dark area. And the guy, he was dead there. They didn't know about it for months later. They didn't find his body for about 6 months.
Okay.
And I'll tell you about that later on as we talk. So we bought the crack. We're smoking it. So then we run out of crack and we run out of money. And I'm not too proud of this, Michael. We just started robbing drug dealers, you know, because we had our military weapons.
So you went from being a military soldier to being a hardcore criminal.
Yeah. Just because of the crack.
Well, maybe because of the crack, but maybe because of also some of the trauma of, that you experienced of being in a war-like environment. It could have contributed to that adjustment as well. I would think. I mean, I've never been in that situation. I didn't pursue an honorable path when I was 18 years old or 17 years old. You know, I started out on a wrong path. But I got to imagine all the things that you experienced in the military and the things that you saw probably influenced your decisions. And so you became what you became. How long were you living that lifestyle as a violent criminal?
Well, what happened, Michael, was after we robbed 2 or 3 drug dealers and we had enough weight of cocaine, you know, let's say we had about a kilo from robbing different drug dealers, we decided, hey, you know what, let's get smart about this. We can't keep robbing people. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I says, I got this real estate license. I'm going to clean up, and I'm going to sell real estate during the day. And you guys are going to go ahead and, you know how you take the cocaine and you process it with anestetol or whatever. You know, you spread it out, you dilute it, you weigh it. During the day, I was selling real estate, Michael, suit and tie. And then at night, I would put on my jacket and my hoodie, and I would sell crack with my homies. So I did that for about a year, man. I did that for about a good year. And here's the problem, you know, Michael, is I had an opportunity to straighten up because I was selling real estate. I was really good at it. You know, what I would do, Michael, is I would take the loans. You know, you get the mortgages or whatever.
Yeah.
I would do these mortgages where you don't have to verify the person's income. So I get like a single mother, and with, you know, I get her a loan for the real estate, and I get her a type of loan where she didn't have to verify her income. And I would give her the money to put down the down payment and make the mortgage payments automatically every 2 weeks, whatever. And what happened was the agreement was she would let my associates, I would drop load the cocaine, and they would take it in the back and process, you know, weigh it and cut it and distribute it, and then they would sell it from the house. So that was the agreement, and that did pretty good. I became not as big as you, Michael, but I became very good at what I did because what I had the ability to do was I wouldn't smoke crack during the day. I just would smoke it at night. And so what happened is I just got so good with that because the guys would come in and they would purchase the crack in the front and they would smoke it in the garage. But then, man, just the traffic and stuff, and then I guess criminals telling on each other, whatever. Somebody told that I had a crack house. I had 3 of them, Michael. And so the one crack house, when they raided it, they told the lady, "Hey, you better tell us who's running this house." And she told them my real name. So when they checked my real estate license, they saw that, oh, he sold 3 homes, and with this single mother type of stuff. And so they raided the houses. We went to Washington State just to try to get away. And so when we ran out of the weight we had, Michael, we had to re-up, so we had to come back down to Monterey, and that's when I got my first civilian case. Came down to Monterey because the guy owed me some money in Washington.
What year is this?
This was I got out of the military in 1989. This was 1990.
So when did you go into the prison system?
I went into prison system in 1991 because after a year of just the madness, I finally got, caught. I had 26 years for the transportation, possession of cocaine, possession for sales, transportation, and weapons.
So you got a 26-year sentence in 1992?
1991.
And was that in the federal system or the state system?
No, it was the state system, and the reason being, Michael, because even though I was transporting from here to Washington State to New York, I never got caught in the act of the transportation. I got caught in the act of having drugs here in this area, and I never told. You know what I mean? I did the crime, Michael. I did the time. So when the feds were asking me about different situations, I said, I don't know what you're talking about. They never had hard evidence, but the state had me on 3 charges of sales of cocaine.
When you went into the prison system, did you go in with a mindset of changing your life, or did you go in with a mindset of adjusting to the prison?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you, Michael, and this is not to try to piggyback off of your videos, but once I got incarcerated into the county jail and I realized I couldn't bail out anymore and I had all this time that I was facing, and this was like some serious charges, and then they found the dude's body. They found a dude's body with the ballistics from the bullet that had my fingerprints on it. I said to myself, like, dude, how did I go from being an honorable military special forces guy to a real estate dude to a bodyguard bouncer to a drug dealer? How did I do that? So I just looked at my life, Michael. I spent a lot of time in the shoe, Michael, because I just want to be honest with you. I shot some people. I'm not from this area, or also I'm in the military. So the guys from this area, they're true gangsters for real. I was kind of playing gangster. They're true gangsters for real. So when I get to the county jail, they're like, "Hey, that's the dude that shot Fred." And then I got, like, I don't want to say I had a hit on me, but they want retaliation. So fortunately for me, I had a lot of military training. I was just breaking news off, so they put you in the hole, right? I was putting them in the hole. So when I'm by myself, Michael, I just looked at my life, dude, and I think you can relate to this. I looked at my life and I said, where did I go wrong? So I just replayed my life over and over again. And I made a conscious decision, Michael. I said, you know what? I'm in a very bad spot. But I don't want to live like this, Michael. I said, I'm gonna change my life, and it starts today. I'm gonna make better decisions. So I started from the time I was in county jail. I said, I don't want to be a criminal. I don't want to be a criminal no more.
I can relate to that completely. And that's a very powerful message for us to be delivering to people in jail and prisons. We could make bad decisions at one point in our life, but it's never too early and it's never too late to begin sowing seeds for something new. And I'm really glad to hear that you had that epiphany, because I suspect that's one of the reasons that you're leading a successful career right now as an IT professional, even though you went into the prison system with 26 years. Where did they end up putting you?
Well, originally when I started, man, I was fighting my case, and it just was a losing thing. It just kept adding more and more. I ended up in San Quentin on the 5th tier. And I want to clarify this, everybody, because I don't know if you've ever been to the States. So when you go to San Quentin, Michael, they got these tiers. So if you have 25 years and above, you're on the 5th tier. So even though you're level 4, it's actually level 5 because they got people on death row there. I met Tookie Williams. I mean, I'm up there with the death row dudes. Those dudes that got life never getting out. Then the 4th tier is level 4, like, not serious violence like me, but just like maybe your armed robbery or rape or something like that. Then the 3rd tier is level 3. 2nd tier is level 2. The 1st tier is level 1.
Really? They have a level ones mixed with level fours and
Yeah,
fives?
because it's reception, Michael. What they do when you go to
Ah,
San Quentin, they hold you there until like all of your case information comes in, and they can look at which prisons have an opening,
but
that
they
kind of
don't
stuff.
interact with each other, do they, on the different tiers?
No, you go to the yard at different times. That's why they'll let the fifth tier out separately from
So,
from the
so they
sixth.
have no interaction between each other, a low security with a high security.
No,
So, but you went in with a very high security level,
right.
and how many years did you serve?
Ended up serving 10, and the reason being, Michael, is because I didn't find this out until I got to Folsom Prison, level 4. Um, in the state of California, if you have possession of cocaine, possession for sale, transportation with weapons enhancements, they have to give you the larger one, which I think is transportation. Don't quote me. And then they have to add the enhancements on top of that. What they did was they gave me possession of cocaine, possession for sale, manufacturing, transportation with weapons, and they ran them like, I don't know the word, but they ran them all like,
Concurrent or
I don't know
consecutive?
the word, but that's illegal. They're supposed to run them together.
I see. So they in the federal system they would call that running the sentences consecutive. So you'd
Okay.
have 10 years, well, by another 10 years, that's 20,
Yeah.
another 20. But instead they could run them all together, which is
Yeah.
concurrent. So all the times, so they made that judicial error for you, and were you able to prevail on an appeal?
Yeah. What happened? I went to the law library, and I was doing court cases and research and stuff, because I was like 26 years. I know you did 40.
No,
You
I
got
did 26 years. I had a
yeah.
45-year sentence, but in the federal system, um, when I was convicted in 1987, the sentencing law held that if you had 45 years, if you didn't get in trouble in prison, you would finish that in 26 years because we earned good time credits. But in
Right.
your situation, you had a 26-year sentence
Right.
and you prevailed on appeal. Is that
Right.
right?
Because Michael, this is my first time getting in trouble in California because I was a square,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I thought I had to do the whole 26.
So did I. I understood that. Yeah, I had
Yeah.
that
So when I
same.
got there, other inmates was like, "Nah, man, because actually, what happens, Michael? I'm a other, so I'm Puerto Rican. I'm mixed with Indian, Spanish, and African, right? So I don't really have a race that I affiliate with. I wasn't built like that. But when I got in there, the black Muslims they were trying to like recruit me, and those were the guys that were in the law library. So they helped me to shepherdize and to figure out my cases. So I got back to a court on appeal, and they reduced my sentence, and that's
How
how I
long
ended
were
up
you
serving
in by
10.
the time that happened?
I was in for a year.
Oh, so great. So you knew after 2 years, hey, I'm going to do 10 calendars, basically.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And so when you were in there, you're in a level 4 penitentiary. In what ways did you work to avoid a lot of the problems that, because you said that you already wanted to change your life, but you're still living inside of a pretty chaotic environment. In what ways did you adjust to kind of reject the lifestyle of the penitentiary and focus instead on, I'm going to get out of here and become successful? How did you do that?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Michael. And I'm going to be transparent with you. So, being I'm not from California, I've never been in trouble. I wasn't really ready for the level of degraded violence they have in level 4 prisons. So the first thing I did was I reestablished my relationships with my family who were disappointed in me for becoming a crack monster and to just Puerto Ricans are very proud people. I disrespect my father and stuff.
Do you speak
So
Spanish?
I speak Spanglish.
Okay, go ahead.
So I reestablished my relationships, got a hold of my wife. And so what she did, she sent my paperwork that I was in the military, that I did real estate, that I had a job, that I was married. And in the state, Michael, all that reduces your points because, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't built for the level of violence at level 4 prison. That's why these guys on these prison channels trying to glorify it. I wasn't built for that. Like, you got dudes never getting out, Michael, never. So what if you put him in the shoe? So what if you put him in the hole? He's never getting out, and he enforces violence whenever he gets ready. So I was like, I wasn't clicked up. I didn't know anybody. I very quickly found out no matter how violent I was, Michael, there was guys way more violent to me, and I kept getting more in more trouble. So I said, I got to get smart. So the first thing I did, Michael, was reestablish my outside relationships, got my paperwork sent in. So a year later, I went back to classification, and the fact that I had all those things in my favor reduce my points, thank God. And then I was put into level 3, which was a way better environment, man. So then when I get to level 3, it's still violent, not quite as violent as level 4, but you could do a program. So my program, for example, Michael, I signed up for I had a meat cutting class. I wanted to learn a trade, So okay, I could be a meat cutter, it gets me out of my cell. And then Michael, because I had drug charges, I signed up for Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous. I signed up for Catholicism. I went to Christian church. I went to Muslim church. I went to all kind of different churches. And I just started, like you did, Michael. I wrote different colleges. I was like, hey, I'm incarcerated. I don't have any money. I really want to change my life. Now, I didn't get a degree like you, but I was studying theology. The one college that gave me a free course was a theology course. So to answer your question, I went to my little job, Michael, after work. I went to the yard, worked out my frustration, you know what I mean? Running, working out and stuff. And then after yard recall, I would go and I would take my courses. I would just sit in my cell. Like I never went out into general population it's called a day room. What it actually is level 3. You got all the different cells facing the day room. And then they unlock your cell. You go out there, guys are playing dominoes, watching TV, doing their
wasting
drug
time,
whatever. Yeah, I mean, let me tell you something, Michael. I didn't watch TV my whole 10 years in prison. Here's why. I didn't want to see other people doing things that I couldn't do. I didn't want to see hot girls. I didn't want to see people living a life that I knew maybe I'm not going to see again, because I didn't know if I was going to make it out. So I knew one thing I could do for sure, and you're going to laugh. I can go to my happy spot in my cell. Like when I'm studying, bro, and I'm reading, I'm studying stuff, time just kind of flies, Michael. Like I'm not even in prison. I'm just absorbed in the words, and I used to visualize myself being a businessman, right? I used to just read these words and study. Next thing I know, it's lights out. Then I program again the next day, and I just did it like that over and over. Michael, kept my head down. I didn't even check the calendar date. I didn't check the time. All I did was do my program. Went to work, worked out, stayed in my cell, studied.
That is a great advice, and I hope that guys who are watching this show inside of a jail or a prison can realize that if they choose, they can start pursuing this methodical plan to, first of all, we heard what he said, is he made a decision when he was in the jail, I'm done being a criminal. That's like the first step. Second step that I heard from him that would have been a very powerful message to me when I was in prison is that he told us that he recognized, I don't want to be exposed in the most highly volatile place, but he knew he couldn't turn it off in a second, so he had to put some plans in place. He had demonstrated that he had community ties. He stayed out of trouble, and then he was able to persuade the board that he should go to a lower level. Then when he went to a lower level, he avoided the nonsense of watching television and playing table games, but instead focused on, I want to be successful. And then he started to train his mind. And so you went through that period. Did you stay the rest of your time in a level 3, or did you ever go lower than that?
No, Michael. And I don't have the paperwork to substantiate this, but I've had so just so you know, when you're in the military, like at Fort Ord, when you're getting ready to get out, like you got 6 months or left, it's called let's say, for lack of a better word, let's call it pre-release. And so what happens is they get all the people that are getting ready to get out, they have you in this big hall. And so CHP comes in, the Department of Corrections, the sheriff, the post office, all these occupations where you get these civil service points. So a lot of my friends are actually correctional officers, sheriffs, CHP, because you're military, macho dude, weapons, right? And so a lot of my friends that at the prisons I were correctional officers, but they couldn't give me any preferential treatment. But they would tell me, like, dude, I'm one of the only few inmates, Michael, in California history to go from level 4 maximum security to level 1, because it's very hard to do that.
Oh, so you did. You went from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I did the same thing in the federal system.
Okay.
Yeah, I started in a high security penitentiary. I was there for about 7 years, maybe 8 years, something like that. Then I went to a medium for like 2 years. Then I went to a low for like 8 years. Then my last decade I did in the federal system, it's called a minimum security camp, and that's where I was. But one of the things that I noticed, and I'm glad that you said that you did this, because you can kind of validate this story that people should hear, is the level of stress that comes off of you each time you go to a lower level is phenomenal.
Man. Yeah, dude. You know, and I want to elaborate. So the reason that when I got to level 3, Michael, I didn't go into the day room. Here's why, man. It's not just because it was a waste of time, but the TV is one of the biggest causes of race riots. Because when I was at level 3, you know, they got Spanish time for the Mexicans, and they got you know, black time for the African dudes, and they got white time. But you always got some knucklehead. It doesn't matter what race is. They always want to disrespect what time it is, and they'll switch the station. So then whatever race or whatever time it was they were supposed to watch the TV, they're going to riot, dude. Yeah. Then there's this problems over the phone, Michael. People, inmates are the most disrespectful people I know. Like, people on here always talking about, oh, there's so much respect in prison homes. That's not true. They're so disrespectful. That's why there's so many riots and so much chaos. So there's the phone, the TV, the games. They're gambling, Michael. And then they're passing drugs out there. So I just, you know what? I wanted to avoid all the politics, dude. I didn't want to be clicked up. I just stayed to myself. So then, and I'm not trying to be offensive, Michael. I gave everybody a clear message like, hey, I'm not following this incarcerated program, dude. Like, I made a mistake. I'm in charge of my life. I'm changing my life. I'm not following this protocol here. So please respect that. So that's why I stayed in my cell.
Good for you. And so you got out of prison. When did you get out of prison?
I got out of prison in 2000.
So you've been out of prison now for 20 years.
Yeah.
And tell us, now you're leading a life as a professional. Would you help our audience? You know, we want to, I strive to give hope to guys who are living in jail and prison, because they're, you know what it's like. They're apart from their families, and 10 years is a very long time. And a lot of people that are watching this program have 10 years to go, or more than 10 years to go. But it doesn't matter if you've got 6 months to go, 1 year to go, 5 years to go. We all need that hope, and you are a beacon of hope. And so, you know, I would like it if you just, you know, I don't want to sugarcoat. How hard was it for you when you came back to reacclimate and get a job and things of that sort? And how did you respond to those challenges?
Okay, Michael, I'm going to give you the true story here. Like, yeah, I'm sitting here today and I'm successful, but it wasn't easy, dude. Like, first of all, when I got out, Michael, I was, I'm in Central California right now. So I went from Folsom, which is in Sacramento, down to Mule Creek, which is in Sacramento, to Avenal, which is in Central California, to Chino, which is in Southern California. The reason I did that, prior to going to prison, I was a bodyguard, but when I was in prison, I met some of Dr. Dre's bodyguards that were in there for life. Like, at level 3, I met them. They see me do martial arts on guys that disrespected me. I come out of the shoe. They say, hey, we like the way you carry yourself. You stay yourself, whatever. And we got to talking, and they showed me pictures with Dr. Dre, and I was like, hey, maybe I could be a bodyguard when I get out. So they made the introduction, called Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre says, when you get out of prison, come see me. So that's why I paroled from Chino. So when I get to Chino, Michael, I get out in downtown LA, got my blues on with my prison little bag with all my lifelong belongings. I think they gave me about $50 in gate money. And I get a hotel room. Like, the next day I got an interview. So, but you got to call your parole officer. So I call my parole officer, Michael, and I says, hey, I'm in LA here. Just want to let you know, as you got out, I got an interview tomorrow with Dr. Dre. And he says to me, fool, if you don't get your ass back up here to Salinas, I'm violating. I said, no, dude, first of all, I'm not even from Salinas, Mr. Parole Officer. His name was Derek Miller. I remember I used to hate that guy. I said, I'm not even from Salinas. I shot people. They're looking for me. I'm homeless. My wife left me. My family left me, Michael. Even though I changed my life around, they're like, well, it's good for you that you changed your life while you're in prison, but we're done with you. So I didn't have anybody. So I wanted to reach out for this job opportunity. He told me, if you're not up here, I'm gonna violate you. So Michael had to get on a Greyhound bus, got up here to Salinas, get to his office, and said, okay, what's going on? I said, pre-release in prison, Michael. They said, when you get out, see your parole officer, you get vouchers for housing, clothing, and food, right? When I went to see my parole officer, Michael, he says, I ain't got nothing for you. And I said, I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have any money. He said, look here, you better have a job by next week. You better let me know where you're staying. I'm going to violate you. So I had to go to the homeless shelter, Michael, with no money, dude. Homeless shelter with people that are on drugs, got your drug addiction, alcohol problems, psychological problems. I mean, it's like, I went from prison, and I'm not saying prison was better than the homeless shelter, but the homeless shelter, dude, was no joke, man.
How long were you there?
To be honest with you, I was there for 90 days, and the reason being, Michael, is because I hadn't been out in 10 years. Like, they had the internet, dude. I didn't know anybody. I had to learn how to catch the bus. I had to learn all these different things by myself. So I found this place called day labor. And what I would do every day, you go and you sign up, Michael, and you sit there and they go, okay, we need 5 guys to go over here. And, basically you sweep up or you bust up stuff. So I did day labor every day, and I got back to the homeless shelter, and I was just trying to stack my money, Michael. I was just trying to, get a little bit of, leeway, right?
You didn't have to pay while you were in the homeless shelter?
No, the homeless shelter is free. You just got to be in line by 5 p.m. because as they open the doors, Michael, they do a head count. After so many hundreds of people, they lock the doors.
Wow.
So you just had to be there.
So that's a challenge, because if you have a job and the job requires you to be there after 5 or after 6, then the doors are closed and you've got no place to go. Is that right?
Yeah, but I would take my day labor. They pay you daily at the end of the day. Sometimes, unfortunately, you're right. I had to get a hotel room.
Wow. And so I could see the commitment then, because a lot of people wouldn't have the strength to do what you did, and that's go to a homeless shelter, work hard, accumulate money, live frugally, get your life together, and then move on. A lot of people revert to the types of decisions that bring them into prison. So it's really important to share that message with guys that if you want a different outcome, the more you prepare right now, the better off you're going to be to overcome these kinds of challenges, because these are real challenges. These are not made up. And it's important to understand that this is what awaits a guy that's coming out of prison, unless you do something about it. So after 90 days, what did you end up, what ended up happening for you? What opportunities opened?
Yes, so it happened after 90 days on the day labor, Michael. I realized I wasn't built for that. So I ran into an associate of mine who was in prison with me as well. But some people change their lives, Michael. So this guy was working. He was a delivery driver. I told him, it's like, dude, can you give me a job as a delivery driver? And he goes, well, you got those violent felonies. I didn't have violent felonies. I just had like some shoplifting and stuff like that, because I met him at level 1. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, I'm tired of this day labor. He said, well, I got a friend of mine, man, that does computers, man. I'm going to introduce you. So we went over to the place. He introduced the guy. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember you from San Quentin. You're that karate dude. It's like, yeah, but I want to change my life, dude. I want to do computers. I don't want to do labor, use my back and stuff. And so what he told me, Michael, was very profound. This is why I wanted to, when I heard your story, this is why I wanted to get with you with the prison professors and doing the fresh out stuff, because I got a story to tell. Because the guy says to me, he says, hey, you just got out of prison. Go down to the community college and you can get a Pell Grant. Anybody qualifies for a Pell Grant. It's for people that don't have money, Michael. So I went down to community college. I got a Pell Grant, dude. And that was the best thing I ever did, Michael. Not only did they give me money for school, for which I did, they paid for my classes. I had money left over, Michael. So instead of getting brand new books for like $80 or $100, I would get the used books for $20. And so I budgeted my money to give me a bus pass, Michael. I mean, there's food on the campus, dude. Life was good. And so what happened is I told my professor, man, I just started taking computer class. I told my professor, like, hey, I'm doing really bad, man. I'm in the homeless shelter. I'm trying to change my life. I need some money. I'm trying to do the right thing. And this professor, man, got me a job on campus, Michael, helping other students log into computers and check their email. And bear in mind, I didn't know what this stuff is either, but you know what I mean? I'm just very proactive. And so from that one sign up at the community college, Michael, and getting the job there associating with those people that, were positive and stuff, then what I also did, Michael, I started attending like different church services. So the church had a program where if you were homeless, you could stay at the church if you didn't use drugs or alcohol. The reason a lot of guys at the homeless shelter couldn't, Michael, and I'm not being disrespectful, a lot of guys that are homeless or whatever, they want to use drugs, they want to use alcohol, they want to continue their behavior. Me, I was like, whatever I got to do to get into this cleaner program, I'll do. Or you can't use drugs, you can't use alcohol, you got to keep the curfew. I'm all in. So me just adapting those behaviors, just getting with the program, so to speak, my life just turned around, Michael.
That's really a great story, and I always like to give some takeaways of what I would have heard from that story if I were still in prison. When you get out, it's not easy. It's really easy to feel the pressure, but you've got to be able to see that if I make the right decisions now, I'm going to get out of this. And what he told us he did is that he went to work, saved his money, got back on time. He had a plan.
Yep.
Then he wasn't afraid to ask for help. Nope. He said, hey, I want to do something better. And so he asked for help. And when he realized, oh, this opportunity may be closed off to me as a delivery driver, I got to find something else. Introduced him to a computer guy. Computer guy said, go get to school, found resources, then was honest with another person of authority and said, I want to do something, asked for help, found an opportunity, executed on that opportunity. And all of that led to a better outcome. How old were you, by the way, when you went to the community college?
So just so you know, Michael, when I went to prison, I was 30 years old. I got out when I was 40. So I'm in a community college, and don't take this the wrong way, man. It's just it was embarrassing for me because community college, you got a lot of kids straight out of high school, dude. I mean, that was just the situation I was in. Like, you got a lot of kids, 17, 18, 19, so they still got that high school mentality. It's not like a university where you were teaching where you got adults. It's like, it's kind of like high school, man.
I get it. Here it is. That's an important message, is that people understand there are always going to be social challenges.
Yeah.
And we got to condition our mind to live with those social challenges. So you did that. You mastered it. How long were you in? So you started in community college with basically young people, 18, 19 years old, and you had to have the mental discipline to say, hey, this is a stepping stone. This isn't the end for me. This is a stepping stone. How long were you in that program before you advanced?
Well, actually, Michael, if you don't mind, I want to back up for a second. So
sure.
While I was in the homeless shelter, it's in the bad part of town. It's like in the seedy part of town. And there were some dudes that knew me from my case because I wasn't as big as you, but I was well known. So I've seen a lot of youngsters like, hey, OG, man, I see you struggling, man. Like, you don't need to struggle. Here's a couple ounces in a gun, man. You can come up. And I had to tell the youngsters, man, check this out, man. Don't if you care about me, don't you ever offer that to me again. Or I'm gonna take that pistol and stick it so far up your beep boop beep boop boop. You know what I mean? And they said, why you mad, OG? I said, because I'm done with that life, dude. I don't want nothing to do with that. So there was pressures, Michael, what I'm trying to say. Like, I had to have my blinders on because I was hungry, Michael. I was homeless, but I said to myself, you know what? There's light at the end of the tunnel. I believed in the process, Michael said. If I just stick to my guns, I knew I was going to come out of it. So I just stuck to it.
So then let's commitment.
Yeah. So let's talk about the college. And when I was at the college, that wasn't a piece of cake either, dude. Like, I had clothes on from the homeless shelter. Like, I don't know if you've been to the homeless shelter, but I'm a tall guy, Michael. So the pants they were too tight and too high. My shirts were too tight. I had scuffed up shoes. The young kids are making fun of me. Like, oh, look at that old homeless dude here. Ha ha. But I stayed focused, man. So to answer your story, I did 3 semesters in college because the first semester I really got an understanding of computers because I did just like I was in prison. I went to work. And just by the way, I switched from doing day labor to moving furniture, which was a little bit more easier. So I moved furniture, and in the mornings early, I went to school all day. And then I get off school. I was in the church program staying there. I would just do my studies after dinner. And so then the second semester, it was very interesting because the guy that was over the entire network, I used to volunteer and do work with him. I was like, hey, if you ever need somebody to help you pull cables or put the servers in, because back then the servers were big, Michael. And he was kind of a smaller guy. He said, yeah, man. So I used to work for free just to help this guy. And he would like download to me about networks and computers and the internet. So then come to find out he asked for a raise, Michael, and they refuse him. So the dude just up and quits. So then the director of technology at college goes, hey, I see you here all the time helping students. I see you work with him. Hey, would you be open to if we give you this opportunity to take over his job until we find somebody? And I was like, sure. So I became the network administrator at the college, my second semester.
Wow.
My second semester of learning computers, man.
Was that enough for you? Were you earning enough then? Was that a livable wage that you could start getting your life in order, getting your own place to live and things?
Well, I want to be frank with you because the director of technology, how do I say this to you, Mike, in a positive way? He was a businessman, so he knew I was a felon student. So the guy that worked there, they were paying him $50,000 a year, and I told the guy I could do the job till they found somebody. They were just paying me $500 a month.
Okay.
And I asked him about that, and he goes, "Well, you're a felon student." I go, "What does that mean?" He goes, "First of all, you got multiple felonies. You couldn't even pass the background check. You're just filling in interim, and you're helping us out, and we're helping you out." So it wasn't really a livable wage, Michael.
No, it wasn't. How long did it take before you were able to start moving into the marketplace and earning a livable wage?
Okay, so so the following semester, and I wanted to build a story of me struggling, dude, and then I moved from a church program. I was living above a TV station with rats and roaches. It was like a halfway house kind of with rats and roaches, but I had my own room. I just shared the bathroom, so I struggled there and did that. So the following semester, I looked in the paper, Michael, and they said, "Oh, job for junior systems engineer. Go to school during the day, work here at night." So I went up there, Michael, and I talked to a friend of mine before I went up there, the guy that turned me on the computers. I says, "Hey, dude, I'm struggling right now, but there's an opportunity here, and they're going to pay they're going to pay 30,000 a year, man." The job was for 70,000, Michael. And I said, "I really need the money." And my buddy says to me, German dude, he says, "Hey, man, you got to believe in yourself and you got to go forward." And he said, "If you don't understand how to put together a computer, you know how to put together a server." So I went to the interview, Michael, and they go, "Hey, so how many servers have you built?" And I go, "1 or 1,000, I don't remember, but it's all the same process." I said, "Let's get a server right now and I'll build them." And they're like, "Man, we really like your enthusiasm." And they gave me the job, Michael, but the problem was I didn't have enough experience. And so this guy gave me an opportunity. It was me and a Chinese guy. He said, "What we're going to do, we're going to take the 70,000 and give both of you guys a chance for 90 days. Whoever's the best candidate, you get to keep the job.
Wow.
But right now, you guys don't have enough experience." So it was me and this Chinese dude. They split the 70,000 into 35 and gave us 90 days. And I told the guys, like, well, the original job was at night, so I can go to school during the day. He said, "Yeah, no, this is a different opportunity." He said, "Life is all about opportunities. Here's an opportunity, young man." So Michael, after that, I never looked back. And nothing against the Chinese guy. He's a great guy, but I was desperate. I had an opportunity. Somebody threw me a lifeline, Michael. I didn't
Right
know if I was
on.
going to have another. I ran with that ball, dude. I just studied every night, worked every day, and then after 9 days, they hired me.
Right on. And so you got a $70,000 a year job despite having a level 4 prison record. And what year was that? That was around 2002, 2003?
No, this is 2001.
2001. So also right around 9/11 time. So the economy's kind of tough, but you've found yourself a spot. And how long did you stay with that position?
Well, I want to be honest with you, Michael, because once the technology bug hit me, man, and I seen the kind of money, and I want to be frank with you here. So I was very thankful for the 35,000 because I went from 500 a month to 35,000. I had my own apartment, bought a car, could dress nice. But then when you're working around all these other IT professionals, never been to prison, Michael, they got degrees. I didn't have a degree. This is my third semester in college. I didn't have a degree. These guys got degrees. You hear them talking, "Oh, I'm making 100,000. I'm making 150. I'm making." So I'll be honest with you, Michael. I'm like, I want to make that kind of money. So what I did, Michael, is I befriended these guys that I work with, and I asked them, like, "Hey, how'd you get in IT? What's your background?" "Oh, well, take this course, that course. You got to take these certifications. It's not just going to college."
Right.
So me befriending these guys, like Chinese dudes, Indian dudes, they put me up on the game of technology about these certifications. To answer your question, after 1 year, man, I had enough experience. I asked my boss for a raise, and then he refused me for a raise. So I went ahead and I took these certifications for like network
Like Cisco
security.
certified,
Yeah,
Microsoft certified.
yeah, exactly. That's
Right.
exactly what I did, man.
Right
I
on.
took a
Yeah.
Cisco certification, put it on my resume, dude, and just the fact that I had a year of experience and I could talk the vocabulary, right? I got another job offer for 90,000, man. And then I'll be honest with you, I'm just being serious, Michael. I was very trying to make up for the 10 years and the past discretions. I wanted to be an honorable member of society, pay taxes, be somebody I looked up to. So every year I would get a different job. I would get more experience, another certification, and I ended up making 200,000 a year within 2 years.
How long does it take to get those certifications? Is there like 9-month courses or something, or how long does it
Well,
take?
I'll be honest with you. The first time I did it, I took a course, and it's like 9 months, right? But this is what I found, Michael, is if you got some hardware at home, like you get off eBay or Amazon or whatever, you get some cheap hardware, and you got the book. 90% of computer stuff is hands-on. So yeah, the first one I took was 9 months. But then after I saw the process, it's just you apply yourself.
And then you
So every
take the
day,
test and you can go through the work and you become
yeah.
certified.
So every day after work, instead of chasing girls, I don't do drugs, Michael, or drink. After work, I would just get my certification book out because I was on a mission. Okay, I wasted 10 years of my life, which I'll never get back. I'm going to make up for it. I'm gonna become somebody. And I'm sorry if I'm talking grandiose, but I'm going to become somebody that people look up to. I'm gonna make my life. I'm gonna turn my life around. So all I did was study every night. So to answer your question, the first time it took me 9 months. After that, I could do a certification every 90 days because, Michael, what else do I have to do?
And
I don't have anything else to do.
immediately increases your earning capacity with every certification?
Every time you get a certification, dude, you get an increase in pay because when you put these certifications, let me just, and I'm not talking down to you, Michael, because obviously you've been around, but the way it works in IT is when these IT companies hire IT professionals, let's say they got 3 guys that are Microsoft certified. Microsoft gives them a discount. It's called a volume discount on the software and the services. So if they can, the more IT guys they can get that are certified, they'll go from platinum level to silver to gold. They get higher discounts, and they do what's called value-added reseller. They'll get this hardware from Dell or Gateway at a discount price based on how many system engineers they have that are certified. So you actually help the company out. That's why they give you more money, because when the more certified guys they have, the more of a volume discount to make, therefore the more money they make.
I see. So you're bringing value to the employer, and the employer is going to reward you with a higher earning, and you probably have a higher satisfaction of the work that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. And then, that's when my life just turned around because you get to dress nice, you get to go to conferences, seminars.
So let's give the takeaway to these guys who are living without hope is you're listening to a man who completely reinvented himself in a relatively short period of time when he came out of prison. But the reality is that he made that shift much earlier when he was still serving a very long prison system. That's what gave him the mindset to believe in himself and to ask for help and to know what he had to do. And then I heard him say that he was making as much as $200,000 a year. Now, to put that into perspective, there's fewer than probably out of every 100 people in America, there's definitely fewer than 90 of those people that are making nowhere near that. And here's a man who had severe criminal history, but he's definitely in the top 10% of all earners in America. He didn't even have a university degree, but he overcame it with his work ethic and his commitment. And that's why he's an inspiration to people. Did you always work for big companies, or did you ever go on your own now that you've been home for so long?
Well, basically, Michael, once I saw the process, I was what was called an implementation engineer. So what happens is I would go along with a sharp guy like you, and you would sell the technology to these Fortune 500 companies, and I would be the guy to implement it. But I got to listen to your sales speech. I got to see how you dress. I got to see the contract. So I said to myself after a while, I'm going to do it myself. And the reason I did it, Michael, I don't want to mislead anybody. Like, yeah, in the IT, there's jobs, right? But as your pay gets higher, the background checks go deeper. So once I hit the $200,000 a year level, I was the director of technology. I wanted to become a vice president for $300,000. They did a life scan, and they found my background. So that wiped that job out. So that's why I said to myself, I'm going to become a consultant, because some computer jobs, they only do like a 3-year background check, Michael. So let's say that's a $50,000 a year job. But then let's say you want a 70, they might do a 7-year background check. So then let's say you want 6 figures, they might do a 10. So I just got tired of dancing with that background check stuff.
Yeah, so you went out and created your own business. So you're an independent businessman now then?
Well, now I'm retired, Michael. That's why I can tell my story, because if anybody sees my story, I'm not going to lose contracts. I retired from IT like just 2 months ago.
So don't you still try to earn an income, or do you have a pension or something like that now?
No, what I do now is I'm more involved with direct marketing, digital marketing. You know what I mean?
Really?
So I got these companies that they want to know about algorithms and traffic and stuff like that. So it's not really that I'm working for them. I'm more like a consultant. But like before, I was a consultant as far as like network security, firewalls, that high pressure stuff. Now companies contact me like, hey, how can I get my website to be higher in the rankings? And how can I get more traffic to my website? So I analyze what they're doing, and I tell them what I think they should do based on my research, and they pay me for that.
Well, I love that story. And if you're in a jail or a prison, I hope that you love that story as well. This is really an amazing transformation that everybody should learn from. Even if you don't have the ability to learn computers right now, you could absolutely learn some skills like your writing skills, your communication skills, because he didn't become successful without learning how to do that, how to sell himself. In addition to that, he had to train himself to learn networking. And I imagine that there were some skills that you learned in the past that made you more capable, like you probably have a pretty good math aptitude. Is that right?
Oh no, Michael. So the reason I joined the military, you're making me out to be a high moral dude. What happened was, Puerto Ricans, when we come to this country, it's because of baseball and boxing. So my dad was like, "You guys are going to be athletes." So when I was going to school, I never was good at school. I played sports, but then I broke my leg at 17 playing football. So my dad goes, "Dumbass, you should join the military." So that's how I got into the military, because I broke my leg, man. So I was never a studious guy. So when I was in prison, I told you about the meat cutting, right? But then my next job, when I got to Avenal, I was in this program called pre-release. And so even though I had 8 years left to go, there's other inmates that were getting out, and I would teach them how to do math and English and take their GED and stuff like that. So what I would say to the guys in prison now, I think that's a good thing to do, is get your math skills up and your English skills. And the reason I say that, Michael, because in the United States, if you understand numbers, dude, there's a lot of windows open up to you regardless of your felonies. And if you are a good speaker like you are, Michael, let me tell you something. One thing I learned being a tech guy, the tech guys who make the most money are not the most technical guys. They're the guys who can convey ideas to companies.
That's for sure. The stronger you develop your communication. I mean, there's a saying that many people have heard, and that's the pen is mightier than the sword. If you can learn how to use a pen well, if you can learn how to put words into sentences, sentences into paragraphs, paragraphs into stories, you can become more persuasive. You can become more influential. You can work your way into a great career like our man O.G. Silverback did. And that's why he's an inspiration to me, and I'm sure he's an inspiration to you. But I know we're coming up on our time of a 1 hour program that's all I can do for CDCR. So I'm going to close this one out. Hopefully we'll be able to get some more insight from the OG Silverback if he'll come back and share some of his stories with us. I'm going to leave you with the last word. If you have something to share with our audience, why don't you give them some insight on things that they may be doing today if they want to follow in your pathway?
Well, real quickly, guys, what I would say is no matter what you're doing right now, start pulling back from the politics, because a lot of guys they're not with the program. They're big fish in prison, but they don't make it on the streets. You want to start programming yourself for the streets, so just start reading a lot, try to get some math going, just try to study a lot, and try to visualize in your mind success, guys. This might sound woo-woo to you, but if you sit back and just look at the kind of person you want to become when you get out of prison, that's going to dictate your actions while you're in prison. And last thing, guys, is start reaching out to different programs from prison, telling them your story and ask them for help, because you never know. A closed mouth never gets fed. So you start reaching out, writing letters to different drug treatment programs, religious programs, whatever. You want to network with people so that you have a foundation when you do get out, the people that's going to support you.
Thanks so much for that wisdom from OG Silverback. We'll be back soon with another episode from Prison Professors, but you stay focused and follow that good guidance that we just got. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. That's the way we spread this message to more people in jails and prison. It's the way that we can be the change we want to see in the world. Thank you.